Yeah, am I audible now? Only to one person? It's working now. It should work now. I'll just check it. Hello, guys, can you hear me? Thank you. All right, guys. So in the first session, we have already done the first session. If anyone has joined right now, one session is already over. In that session, we have generally understood about the budget, the terms and definitions, concepts related to the budget. Now we will shift to the specific interim budget that has come out and go into the details of the interim budget for 2024-25. Okay. So when budget is presented, it consists of a lot of documents. Many documents are presented. We have seen president calls for the budget to be laid off. The finance minister is presenting the budget. So what all is presented? It consists of various documents which forms your entire budget. All right. So what is the very first thing which might be included here? Huh? The first answer you gave in the class was that. Now also you have stuck there. What else? It will be a part of something. So you also have the finance minister's speech. Okay, finance minister's speech. So guys, let's not discuss among ourselves. There's a class which is going on here. Let's maintain the decorum of the class, please. Sorry? Please, let's maintain the decorum of the class. So there is a finance minister's speech that is there, which the finance minister gives while presenting the budget. This is a part. Then of course your annual financial statement. Annual financial statement. This is under Article 112. Now this annual financial statement generally is synonym to what we call as budget. Right? Budget, however, the term budget, however, is not mentioned anywhere in the Constitution. So you should know about certain terms which may be very frequently heard but not mentioned in the Constitution. So in polity you will come across such terms, right? Budget in economics, budget is one such term which is not mentioned in the Constitution. Instead they have mentioned the annual financial statement. So second, write down annual financial statement. Third would be demand for grants. Okay. Third would be demand for grants. Demand for grants as per Article 113. Demand for grants. Now, annual financial statement, we take it to be the entire budget, but the entire budget consists of a lot other things. Demand for grants is also one such thing. So what is the difference between the annual financial statement and the demand for grants? It's of course different.
The one allocated by the finance minister and the one asking by the department.
Okay, the second part is absolutely correct. See, annual financial statement, if you're talking about is, you have balance sheet, right? How much you are earning, how much you are spending. So that is in general mention over here. Now with respect to the specific department, specific ministries, you will have different demands, right? Which will then be over here. Ministry wise differentiation would be here. It can so happen that, when the vision of the government is there, social sector schemes, let's say women empowerment, it is there. So it may have schemes related to different departments also, right? So in one sector, different departments can be involved. For Yuva Shakti, if they want to do certain things for youth, so they will allocate certain amount of money. Now that amount of money would form demands of different ministries also, right? Ministry of Sports can be there, ministry, you have ministry for, let's say, consumer affairs, corporate, all those ministries, let's say Startup India, Stand Up India, Rural Development Ministry, right, Cultural Ministry. So some part of it would be there in different ministries, right? So here it is differentiated based on the different demands of ministries. So that is your demand for grants, right? So if you are allocating, let's say, rupees 100 for youth, right? So there might be 10 different schemes which might be coming up. 2 schemes might be from sports related, 2 schemes or 4 schemes might be with respect to rural development, if it is employment generation in rural areas. So this 100 rupees would actually be divided into different ministries under which these things are coming, and that would reflect in your demand for grants, right? So write down third, demand for grants. Then we have the financial bill and the appropriation bill. Finance bill and appropriation bill. Appropriation bill to authorize taking fund for the utilization. Appropriation bill. You also have the financial bill, right? Financial bill will be under which article? 1110. Why? Because it is the money bill which we are talking about. So financial bill, it's a money bill under article 110. What is the requirement for a bill to be constituted as a money bill? But what does article 10 require it to be? Earlier, later on, the judgment would be of the speaker whether it is a money bill or not, right? So that decision should be made on certain criteria which is mentioned under article 10. Money, this bill should be dealing with funds you want to take out of the consolidated fund of India, the taxes. It should deal with that and that alone, right? However, the conflict arose during Aadhaar bill. Have anyone heard the judgment on Aadhaar bill? It was passed as a money bill. The matter was taken to the Supreme Court, right? Our present Chief Justice was one of the residing judges in that case of Aadhaar bill, right? And then this stood the test of the Supreme Court. However, when you look at the entire script of decision, it says that now if we take this Aadhaar bill back, saying that it is unconstitutional because it was not abiding by this criteria, it would be a huge cost on the economy, because more than 100 crores Aadhars have already been disseminated, right? So the cost benefit was not working well. So even though it might not have been, standing the test of Article 110, but taking it back now based on that would not be the right thing. That was one of the judges, part of decision as well. Okay, so bills dealing with taxation, taking money from the consolidated fund of India, these bills would be money bill. Clear? Any doubts?
How do you differentiate the appropriation bill and a money?
No, this will also be passed as a money bill only. Taking money from the consolidated fund of India, public funds and the contingency fund of India. Okay? So both will be passed as money bill. So we have written finance bill. Then there are fiscal policy statement requirements. Fiscal policy statement requirements are there. Based on what? Based on your FRBM. FRBM Act. What is FRBM Act? Right? Fiscal responsibility and someone please say it loudly, no one is confident. And Budget Management Act. So this act, why this act is there? First session we saw fiscal deficit should not increase much. So you need to be having fiscal responsibility to ensure it does not increase much. So this would have certain regulations, and under this act there are two requirements. Write down the first requirement: macroeconomic framework structure. Number one, under FRBM, macroeconomic framework structure. So macroeconomic framework structure. Number two, write down medium fiscal policy, medium term fiscal policy. Medium term fiscal policy. Medium term fiscal policy cum fiscal strategy statement. Okay. So number one is very clear. They want to know what is your microeconomic framework structure. What amount of GDP are we talking about? What amount of output are we talking about? What amount of expenses we are talking about at a broad level? At a very broad level, macroeconomic framework structure needs to be there. Details may not be there. You know, when we talk about answer writing, framework of the answer, what you write inside that is a different thing. But how the structure of the answer would be, that needs to be defined. So that is what it is. Second is medium term fiscal policy. Medium term fiscal policy, as in when you talk about fiscal deficit, it is calculated over 1 year, right? Now you cannot wait for complete 1 year and see where you are, because then you will not be able to take corrective actions. That is why medium term fiscal policy, after 6 months again there would be a check. So when there is a check, if you are deviating, then the government may come up with corrective actions. Sometimes the government have increased the amount of disinvestments they were doing to close the gap of fiscal deficit. So that is your medium term fiscal policy. Come fiscal policy strategy statement. So what is your strategy to regulate it up to a manageable level? And that manageable level for India is considered to be around 3.5%. We want to go further below this, so 3 to 4%, more towards the 3% side. This is a manageable amount for India, and we are hovering under this amount only. Clear? These documents are clear so far. Now, along with this is forming the part. There will be certain explanatory documents. So write down other explanatory documents. Other explanatory document. One thing that comes up is budget at a glance. Anyone who's a working professional here? Was. Acha, so you might have worked. So you might have at times, sometimes presented certain reports, certain findings, right? So what do? Of course, the details will be there. We saw the details, demand on grants and everything. But at the same time, you would also like to give a dashboard, an overview, so that the person just understands what is happening. And then later on, if they want to go into the details, they can go into the details. So that is exactly what is happening here also. That is why they are coming up with budget at a glance. So you are sending a report to a senior, you are giving it them, let's say the project at the glance of a project. So what is happening in the project? Under that there would be various details which we saw, but one can be budget at glance, right? Then we understood that budget was divided into revenue budget, capital budget, so write down. And also budget has what? Receipts and expenditure. So there would be receipt budget, wherein only receipt details will be there. Then there would be expenditure budget document consisting of only expenses, the details of expenses. Clear? Now this is done. Then you have key features of the budget. Key features of the budget. There will be certain key features of the budget. Then one more thing will be there. If you might have seen a original budget document, one thing would be there. What is one thing that is still remaining? Implementation of the budget of the previous year. Okay? So, implementation of previous budget. So this year's budget would be having implementation of budget of 2023-24. So these are the documents that would be present, right?
So,
Yes.
for the Aadhaar bill, the speaker says that
Yes.
decides that it is a money bill, and his decision is cannot be challenged in any court, right? Then why did it still become a case in Supreme Court?
So what happens is, see, we need to understand we have a check and balance system. Though that is a polity question, but we have a check and balance system. Right. So how does the check and balance system works? If let's say the parliament becomes trying to become all powerful, we have the judiciary to check them. Right. Also we know amendments can be done, changes can be done. Now the decision of the speaker per se cannot be challenged. Right. But you can still fight a case, or let's say file a case, or let's say go to judiciary, Supreme Court based on certain other things, right? So for example, if you are making it mandatory, right, that is taking away your right of choice, so it is harming the fundamental rights, right? So it is going on the basis of taking away your right to choice under Article 21. In the same manner, if it is discriminatory, it may go to the Supreme Court based on challenge on under Article 14. So it may not necessarily go saying that the speaker is wrong. It would go saying that my fundamental right to choice is there. Okay, right to choice is there, and that is being hampered if you are making it mandatory for everything. So when Aadhaar bill came, suddenly everyone started asking Aadhaar for everything. And then the matter went to the Supreme Court that, boss, it's my choice whether to enroll or not enroll. Based on that it went. Suddenly what happened? Then there was a directive given that you can give other documents as well. Right? Then it suddenly changed. Now everywhere we do give Aadhaar, but that is, that was changed because this matter was then sub judice. Also what happens is that, for example, you have mask Aadhaar and various other security measures have come with Aadhaar card. You have mask Aadhaar cards? Mask Aadhaar cards, you are aware? So last few digits would be blanked out. In fact, complete digits can be blanked out. Right? So why masked Aadhaar card? So that your Aadhaar number and all cannot be used. So when you are going somewhere, let's say you are having a stay, you are going out to travel. So you need not give the Aadhaar with the entire Aadhaar number. Just give the masked Aadhaar to them, because they just want to check your identity, right? So those provisions were there. At the same time, some other provisions, as in when you are giving Aadhaar to a telecom company to buy a SIM card, now that telecom company cannot use it without the consent anywhere else for anything. Or else what will happen? Now they can break this law. They can sell off the data. Selling off the data illegally is a different thing. But now they cannot use it anywhere else. It has to be only with them and nowhere else, right? So those are safety measures, but we know leakages happen, we know data gets sold off. So all those issues are still there. Mention not. So, but when it goes due to the fundamental rights and all, then probably everything else gets checked. And maybe judiciary may come up with something that, you know, this should be the basic structure, part of the basic structure. The things can change. So whatever the provision presently is may change also tomorrow. Okay. Also, when it goes also based on the fact that the speaker has considered it to be a money bill, but it should not be, the judiciary can either simply throw away that case, but if they find any merit in it, they may still look at it. That is judicial review. It will still be there. Okay, yaar, we have given you that benefit, but you are misutilizing it. So now the judiciary will step in. Then you go into the concept of judicial activism, judicial interference. So difference between activism and interference is also there. Activism is suo moto, taking cognizance of things and ensuring people are, you know, given justice. Too much interference is they should not start creating laws by themselves, because they are not elected people. It's the government at the end of the day which are elected. So those tussles will keep going on. All right. So now this is clear what all documents are there. Now, as we were saying, there are two parts. So part A is what we will discuss now. Part A of the budget, write down. Part A of the budget. As I said, we will be dealing with the macroeconomic things. What is the vision of the government? Right? What is the focus area, key features of the budget? All those things we will discuss here. So write down under part A, vision. Write down what's the vision. Vision is Viksit Bharat by 2047. Viksit Bharat. Viksit means developed. Viksit Bharat by 2047. Why 2047? 100 years of independence from the Britishers. Okay. Under that, write down what do we mean by Viksit Bharat. Okay. So write down prosperous Bharat. By Viksit Bharat we mean prosperous Bharat. Prosperous Bharat in harmony with nature. In harmony with nature, modern infrastructure, and opportunities for all. Prosperous Bharat in harmony with nature, modern infrastructure, right, and opportunities for all. Now, why I am making you write this down, guys, you can use these in your answers. That's how you can conclude your answer. If answer is based on economy, economic development, about the country, you can use these lines, you can use these phrases which the government comes up with in your answers, in your essays. You will get good marks because you are giving a government exam, right? Write down. Next. So this was the vision. Okay. Now this also, the budget also talks about the mantra. So write down what is the development mantra. What's the development mantra? This development mantra had come long back. They are expanding it like your rights under Article 21 keeps on expanding. Okay? Right? So right to a peaceful sleep is also under Article 21. So after 10 p.m. there cannot be loudspeakers. If there is, you can call to a police station and ask them to shut it down. Huh? No, those are not loudspeakers. So have you ever complained? Then you complained na then? No, not necessarily. See, it's 10 p.m. now, those are probably under essential services. So there will be exclusions, right? But generally after 10 p.m. loudspeakers are not there. That's why at times you will see a lot of shows getting ended before 10 p.m. also. However, still certain things, indoor things can still go on for later events. Now write down development mantra. Guys, later. Focus, please focus. Development mantra is, any guess? Come on, yaar. No. Write down. Sabka saath. Write down. It's very long, so write it down. It's not sabka saath, sabka vikas. हाँ. सबका साथ सबका विकास, सबका साथ सबका विकास and सबका विश्वास. Okay, so सबका साथ सबका विकास and सबका विश्वास. राइट, ये सबका है, ठीक है. राइट, एंड द अप्रोच ऑफ सबका प्रयास. द गवर्नमेंट इज क्लियरली टेलिंग वी कांट डू इट अलोन, you have to give away your LPG subsidies. Right? How many of you at your home have given away the LPG subsidies? 1, 2. A majority are intelligent people. Huh? Only 2, 3 have given away. That's good. Anyway, so सबका साथ सबका विकास सबका विश्वास with an approach of सबका प्रयास. So सबका साथ, you know, government is with everyone. It is talking about development. Vikas means development. So it is talking about development of everyone. Sabka Vishwas, trust. Trust of everyone. Even if we are not coming out with the reports we used to come out earlier, because those reports are not correct, still you should have trust. Is that the case? Anything which you think has been done to create, increase more trust? Examples. Let's take examples now. Lokayukta, okay. No, because we should know both the sides, not just criticism but the positives also. And when you are criticizing, the criticism has to be constructive criticism, giving solutions for that. Okay? No, we are talking about this agenda which has come. So during this reign, what all things have come for it? Yes. We are talking about trust. Huh? Let one person say. Grievance redressal mechanism. Earlier it was not there. RBI ombudsman. Also now this what he talks about grievance redressal has become more easier. Earlier things were more complex. Now you know everything is becoming more simple and of course digitized. Except for political party fundings, other things are getting digitized. So that is also playing a role in it. Okay. Vikas development, of course, a lot of development, especially a huge increase in the roads, transportation, infrastructure for roads, runways, railways, metros, airports. Recently 15 new airport projects were launched. Some were inaugurated, some foundation stones were laid. So Vikas development, right? And Sabka Prayas means, of course, including the people. That was just for fun, that give away the LPG subsidy. Apart from that, we all need to be responsible citizens. If only few lakh people are paying direct taxes, that does not help the government or the economy or Indians, right? So that also needs to increase. So what do we do to have more people in the tax net? Huh? Taxation is very simple. What's the difference?
It's very complicated for a common man to understand the filing of the taxes.
Acha, so that has simplified to an extent, but yeah, it needs further more simplification to file it. That is a very good point. That can be done. Make it very simple. Okay, that can be done. Anything else? Lowering of tax rates, so that people are more inclined towards, like, you know, then the risk will be high if you get caught, and the cost of that is lower because less tax are there. So you are like, fine, let me get done away with this tax so that the risk is not there. So you need to make that risk even more higher, right? So that you can probably do. So this is the development mantra of the government, right? Now let's come on to the focus area. So the focus area is very clear. Focus area is Gyan. So Garibi, Yuva, Annadata and Nari Shakti is what we'll talk about. Now this actually very interestingly brings me to a question of 2016. There were two questions in 2016. What happens is, generally in prelims, I'll start relating things to prelims because ultimately you have to solve questions. So in prelims what happens is, they give you a term and they ask you name of a scheme or a particular term and they ask you what it is. Okay. So in 2016 there was a question in which they asked about Swayam. Now the thing with Swayam is, the meaning of this word Swayam means self-reliable, doing things on by your own. The very first option they had given over here was self-help groups, right? Now this is a very attractive option, and the correct option was related to open source of studies courses available. Okay, open source courses available. Now this is a very attractive one, and you may, a lot of people may get attracted and tick that. There was another question in 2016 only, so it's sorry? No, the probability of you getting it right is 1 by 99. So let me tell you. No. Garima Yojana. Garima Yojana. Now Garima Yojana, which was there, again it had 4 options. 2 options you can directly relate. One was the manual scavengers, right? Then it was the sex workers. So when you talk about Garima, it's the prestige, right? It's the self-respect, prestige on those lines. So other 2 options you may be able to eliminate and you may be left with this option. Now the problem is, here you are taking into account the meaning of the word and eliminating. Here if you do that, there is a problem. The reason is, it is an acronym. It is a short form for something bigger, right? So when you expand this, it may not be directly linked with self-help groups. In the same manner, if in exam they ask what is Gyan related to, and 3 of the options are related to knowledge, or let's say just 1 option is related to knowledge, 2 other options are related to something else, and the 4th option is none of the above. So instead of none of the above, you may tick knowledge based option, which would again be the wrong option to take. So when it is an act, to again think, and all these tricks and tips which are there for scoring more marks in prelims would work if you are a serious aspirant. It would not work if you are not a serious aspirant. The reason being, when we deduce it to 2 options, either manual scavengers or sex workers, you need to think. And also that scheme was at national level. Have I ever heard any scheme for sex workers ever, that too at a national level? No. Then the answer is manual scavengers. Correct? So that is how you deduce things. Alright. So focus area is Gyan. So very first focus area is Garib ya Garibi? Huh? Garib, not Garibi. So they are not focusing on poverty, they are focusing on the poor. Different government, different approach. The previous governments have focused on Garibi Hatao. They are focusing on Garib. That's the poor. Now basically it means one and the same thing only. Sorry? No. What happened is, when in I think 4th, 6th, 7th, 5th year, 6th 5-year plan, the government came up with the focus of Garibi Hatao. And from next year, 5-year plan onwards, it became a very famous slogan, Garibi Hatao. The criticism of the opposition was, you are not doing गरीबी हटाओ, आप लोग गरीबों को हटा रहे हो. You are not removing the poverty, you are removing the poor. So that criticism has already been faced. Anyhow, here the focus is on garib, poor. So what things would you suggest if you are the people formulating policies after becoming civil servants? After that, 15 years later, you may be a part of this. So that's how it happens. When you immediately join, you are at the execution level. When you are in the middle level of bureaucracy, then you may formulate. And then when you further go at a higher level, again formulation will not be a part of it. So when you are in middle level bureaucracy, how will you focus on garib? What will you do? Remove them from? Okay.
Empower them so that they can self-sustain themselves. Skill development.
Now, fine, all these things will come. Now, very surprisingly, skills would come also under Yuva. So basically, fine, it overlaps, but the thing is, when someone is poor, the very first thing is food, clothing, shelter. So the poorest of the poor, right? Infrastructure, fine. How will infrastructure help them? Basic house, right? So before giving them house, would you want to give them food first or wait for them to give house? Food first, right? So that's how you start thinking. The immediate requirement is what? Food. Then of course infrastructure will be there. They need to be provided, let's say, employment. Now when you want to provide employment, then you need to know that whether they are skilled or not. If they are not skilled, what employment you will provide? Under Manrega, it has been criticized that what happens is, you have to give them work. So one day they dig the hole, the next day they fill it. Right? Why is that?
Because there are no other skills.
No, not just that. One more thing. If you have 1,000 rupees for Manrega, you can give, let's say, 10 people employment for one day, 100 to each. Simply go dig and close it. But if you make them do certain productive thing, what will happen? You will not be able to use this entire for giving them employment. Then what will happen? 500 rupees will go in the resources, the equipment, right? What they will be using. And only 500 will go to the person who is working. So here, instead of 10 people getting benefited, only 5% gets benefited. So again, it is a trade-off.
Why government is not taking this?
Sorry?
Why government is not understanding this problem?
Government is...
They have to give more money in this case.
Yeah, so see, there are bureaucrats sitting. Do we think they are not understanding? They are understanding, but to answer your question, as I said, the word trade-off. There is always a trade-off. So what is the trade-off? When I wrote answer in 2016 in a test series for this, I had mentioned that there needs to be an increase in the percentage of money allocated for the resources which are being used. So when you increase that percentage, you will get something more productive that can further be utilized, because that will build an asset. Here just revenue expenditure is happening. There more of capital expenditure will happen, which can later give you revenue. So that is a point. So right now it is like 80% completely goes, 80% plus goes to this, and less than 20% goes to the resources which you use. Now there is a need to slightly increase this, at least to make it 70-30 or 65-35, so that we can get certain assets created because of this, and overlap this with the Skill India mission. Okay, Skill India mission. Provide them skills, then give them employment, and then utilize 65% for their salaries, and rest should be utilized on equipments and other resources. Okay, so that is the thing. See, now if they would have done this, probably a figure which we will see, that you talked about getting people out of multi-dimensional poverty. or making people come out of BPL line. So then probably those numbers will be reduced. But in the long run, it will be beneficial. So whenever any issue is there, there are two things you have to do. Address the issue right then and there, for that time, short term, what corrections you do, and corrective actions so that it does not happen, right? So it's always a trade-off is what we understand. Okay, so focus should be on these things. Very good. Let's write down certain things. Number one is poverty alleviation. Very simple. They are poor, remove the poverty. Garib, poor. So number one is poverty alleviation. What is the meaning of alleviation? Sorry, yes, tell me please. That is elevation, to lift something. So increase in poverty. This is alleviation, to reduce, lower the suffering. So poverty, suffering to be lowered. Poverty alleviation, right? And how many people are we able to remove in the last 10 years? Who said poverty is less than? The person who said poverty is less than 5% himself said that wait for the complete analysis and final number. Right? He said that at the end. It was his analysis that because the food expenditure has gone down, the standard of living of people is going up, which need not necessarily be the case. So as per my opinion, I think poverty is 5% is what it was said. However, he said that let's wait for the complete analysis and an exact number. So presently the number we have is of Niti Aayog and World Bank. So according to World Bank, we have 11% to 12%, around 11% poverty. As per Niti Aayog, we have 10% poverty. Right? Now, so in poverty alleviation in the over last decade, we were able to bring out 25 crore people out of multi-dimensional poverty. Multi-dimensional poverty. Now, what is multi-dimensional poverty? Economically and socially. What else? Good. Okay. Earlier, do you know how poverty was measured? Calories. So in rural areas, you need, let's say, 2400 calories. In urban areas, you, let's say, need 2100 calories. So to buy food worth of 2400 calories in rural area, what is the cost? In urban area, what is the cost? So just have food, that's it. Nothing else is taken care of. That is unidimensional poverty measurement. That was the simple. But why are we starting from there? Because we are at that level. When we started as an independent country, our average age was 36, 37. Our literacy percentage was again in the 30s. Poverty was very high. Right, so immediately we cannot start about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, let's give this to everyone, let's give safe drinking water to everyone. Let's first start giving them food so that they are alive, so that we can give them more thing later on. Okay, so that was the reason. As and when we started doing well, we kept on improving our goals. Right, now we look at the multi-dimensional poverty index. So now we do not just take care of the calories, we also talk about health, we also talk about education, and we also talk about standard of living. Standard of living. So when you talk about standard of living, you talk about electricity, you talk about sanitation, you talk about drinking water, all those things you talk about now. So this includes multi-dimensional poverty. Now in multi-dimensional poverty, a person is considered to be multi-dimensional poor when in multi-dimensional poverty the thing is there are total 3 indicators and total, no, 10. So under it 10 targets or whatever you may call it is there. So if you are poor in more than 1/3, let's say in 4 of the aspects, if you are poor, you are multidimensionally poor. If you are poor in less than 4, then you are not multidimensionally poor. Is that correct? Correct? 1/3 is what they have taken. So 1/3 means 4 parameters you need to suffice. So some may suffice all 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. All these people are not multidimensionally poor. Below that, we are multidimensionally poor. Okay? So first is poverty alleviation. We have a number of 25 crore people got freedom from multidimensional poverty. Second, direct benefit transfer. Providing DBT, direct benefit transfer, direct benefit transfer. What's the benefit of direct benefit transfer? No leakages or less leakages, reducing leakages. Don't you think no is an extreme word? I ask a question. Don't you think no is an extreme word? We'll see that. We'll see that. The government has given figure. We'll analyze that. Okay. So under this, what the figure is? 34 lakh DBT. Okay, direct benefit transfer using Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Jan Dhan accounts were created. So 34 lakh crore was transferred. Now comes the important point. Write down. The government has given an amount, savings of 2.7 lakh crore. Savings of 2.7 lakh crores. Right? So in your answers and all, you can mention these things, that DBT has led to a huge amount of saving. Even if you don't quote the exact figure, that's fine. Has led to a savings of lakhs of crores or a huge amount of saving. Right? Now, what is the issue with this number? How they have, first of all, tell me, how would they have calculated that they have saved 2.7 lakh crores? What is this saving? What is this saving?
Saving in transport and distribution of.
If they are not implemented DBT, any other
Let one person answer.
if they are not implemented DBT, they
Huh.
have used any other method which would have costed them more.
How? That is correct, but how?
How would it cost them?
Salaries to people.
There is a concept of error of inclusion. Error of inclusion. We are error of inclusion. Exclusion would not help. Exclusion would hamper the person who should have been included. But inclusion is the thing which will save the money. Right? Error of inclusion as in, I should not be a part of that scheme, but still I was getting the money. Now since it's direct benefit transfer linked to your bank account and linked to your Aadhaar, right? So now the government has details, right? Now the government has details. Now the government would remove you. Boss, you are out of the system. So earlier you can understand that X amount of certain people were getting benefits. After DBT, these X amount were removed. Right? So this is how the savings come. Right? Direct benefit transfer. The problem with this is, all of them, those who are removed, may not necessarily be not eligible. And that is what, can come in your case studies also. Let's say there is a person from your district, you are a district magistrate of a particular district. There is an old lady who is a destitute and in need of it, but does not have the required document, and hence the information is not there on the portal. Now you have various schemes running, but because of lack of information, you cannot help her. This is the situation. What will you do? So what is happening? The government may think let's say we remove because no proper documents was not able to provide, so we have removed, so this is a saving. So a lot of it would be saving, there is no doubt. Some of it would have so happened that even eligible people may have been pushed out. Now the actual amount, there is no calculation, there is no data for that. So, but yes, this amount of saving has happened. So that's an interesting case study. What you will do is, you can think of, okay? So case studies always are having dilemmas. There is never white and black, there are gray things, okay? So this is there, we have talked about DBT. Then Pradhan Mantri Janman Yojana. Janman. Pradhan Mantri Janman Yojana. Remember this Yojana. This is for the PVTGs. Particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Question asked in 2018. Okay. How many PVTGs are there? 75. What? You're saying something? So I think around 75. That was exactly one of the statements of 2018 question also. What are PVTGs? Particularly vulnerable tribal groups. PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Any example? Any example from Andaman, Nicobar or Lakshadweep? Very good. Okay. So write down PM Janman Yojana for uplifting PVTGs. Right. Then you have PM Vishwakarma Yojana. Vishwakarma Yojana. PM Vishwakarma Yojana. This is for artisans and craftsmen. This is for artisan and craftsmen, training them in, skilling them in 18 different trades, skills and craftsmanship. It is for artisans and craftsmen. Okay. So skill development basically is also there. But in Skill India Mission, there would be probably other type of skilling. Here specifically related to craftsmanship and yeah, these craftsmanship, what do you understand by craftsmanship? Any example of pottery is one of the examples. Weaving, right? Handmade things which are there, making small baskets, all those things. Yes, yes, one station, one product is also there. One specific thing in one particular station.
So, PM Janman Yojana, how do they exactly uplift them?
There is a problem. Yes, that is a good point. What is the problem with respect to PVTGs when we are talking about? So someone gave the example of Synthelis. What example? The problem is of integration itself. You are not allowed to enter also that region. So what will we do then?
Get the population levels and all.
How?
Drone inspection.
You have all the data with you, how backward they are. What you do now? There is a scheme for that. You have written or not?
Declining population, then they can protect.
How they will protect? What they will do is the question.
We need to decipher the language. There was a doctor who used to keeping contact with the Sanskrit.
Yes. But what will you do?
Follow his footsteps, like keep provide food.
And do you think it is, we are going there talking about development and everything, right? But they don't want it. Isn't it that we are forcing it on that because we think this is the right way to live? No, your way is wrong. So let us interfere and do something for you. Do you think it's right? I suddenly enter your house and I say, the way you are living is not right. Come, I'll tell you how to live. Will you like it? Then
Only providing healthcare.
Okay. So what happens is, see, you are not allowed to go. There is very restricted approach. First of all, out of these 75 PVTGs, not all of them has such high restrictions. So that is our first focus area where you can more easily do. Second, when there is restriction, you know, a tourist went and he was probably killed also. That was also in news. So for private people, for tourism and travel and all those things, you cannot go to this region. Government can. So what do you do is, you do not enter just their territory and start doing things. What you can do is the surrounding area you can help develop, and not, you know, building concrete structures, but providing certain things to them so as to build a curiosity and interest in them about the things which is next to them. Because one reason can be, I am in a secluded area, I don't know what is going on elsewhere, right? So developing the, so whenever this, let's say here are the PVTGs which are there. So what do? You develop the surrounding area, right? And when you develop the surrounding area, you may have controlled contact between this region.
What kind of development it would be like in the surrounding area?
First of all, surrounding areas would also be having some amount of population. You give them, you skill them, you give them better employment, you give them better facilities. So then these PVTGs can also realize that things can be easier. I, for example, do not have to travel 5 kilometers every day to get, let's say, water, food, or travel throughout the day to get some water and food. However, for water they won't travel because they may settle where there is river, where there is water source. But for food they have to hunt. So when this interaction happens, when they view it, see it, that would help them to develop a curiosity, and that would help the integration of these people. So first step would be to integrate them. Once you integrate them, only then you can talk about the development. Okay? So there is a question of integration of tribals. This is a very big question which we are still trying to answer. In sociology, integration of tribes is a particular topic also. Yes?
So does it not affect their culture and ethnicity?
That's what, that is why we are not forcing anything on them. Did we go into their area to change anything? No.
No, but in Andaman, I guess it's Andamanese, I'm not so sure about the tribal names. Actually, government was constructing some kind of, like road infrastructure, like some bridge or something. But then, like when the tourists was actually traveling, these tribal people were just staring at them. So those people started to take, like photos of them and started to treat them as if like they are monkeys, like all those things. So it's like the government is actually interfering in their privacy, right? Because after
Who started taking photographs?
all the tourists.
Tourists. So it's not the government.
But they are the one who let
It's not the government, it's the citizens. It is prohibited. You broke the law. If you right now kill me breaking a law, you cannot say why you are allowed to interfere. Then there comes the implementation and regulation of things. We are going to the execution level. That when the government has said that this is a restricted area, and when I am talking about development of here, I am talking about a controlled contact under the supervision of the government professionals, wherein you do not allow that kind of, concrete roads are being built, bridges are being built. No, not that kind of development. Very small things, provision of food, provision of water, safe water, all those things which would develop curiosity. Now when private people are going as a tourist and they are entering illegally and they are doing things which you should not do, that is on us citizens to not do it, right? However, the counter argument could be, since there is development, since you have created, from here to here there would be a road. So you have created a road, should the road not be there? That's what. So you have created the road and now the tourists are going and interfering. So what can the government do? The government should not create this road, it should create, right? So it is, that's what, sabka prayas, right? So of course, but implementation problems are there, integration problem is still there. There are different theories of integration. I don't remember the name, Verrier Elvin had proposed a zoo-like structure for the tribals that give them one particular area. Here all the tribals will live and very far away from the society. This was given by Verrier Elwin. Okay, do not interfere, let them do what they want to do, we are separate.
So this is a dumb question. So why is there a need for priority of integration of PVDs?
Why is there a need of?
So why is the government giving a priority to integrate PVDs?
See, priorities why they are giving to integrate PVTGs.
Even vote also they won't get president.
Even?
Vote also they won't get president.
Because you are thinking that where they are, they should remain there forever. You should have a vision for them. Would you want, let's say, a scenario that all of them are properly integrated and let's say some of them are here sitting in a class? Would you want that?
Yeah.
You would want that. How do you reach that? All of a sudden one day you wake up and you reach? No, you need to start somewhere, right? And they are the most distanced from the society. The only ethical question comes in, the way we are developing and the way this life is it better or not? That is a decision we are taking on our own for them. That is the only ethical challenge there is. Okay? But PVTGs, then when you will focus on them? Whenever you focus, they will be still PVTGs, even if you focus after 10 years, right? So somewhere you have to begin. Okay? Next, write down, so let's follow Gyan in sequence only. Let's write down Yuva. Yuva, that is youth. Youth is also known as see, this government has, I get your point, this government has given a lot for us to learn, remember, right? Coming up with various acronyms and stuff. So here they have called youth as Amrit PD. Amrit generation, who will bring Amrit Kal. Yuva, that is youth or Amrit PD. Alright, let's break for 10 minutes and then we continue with Yuva. Okay, thank you.
How's the weather today? Who is Alexa? Sorry, I meant Siri. Never mind, just tell me the weather. Why don't you ask that bitch Alexa to tell you the weather?
All right, guys, let's continue now. Online students can hear me, right? Okay, yeah, it's audible. Okay, so we are looking at the focus areas. The second one is Yuva or Youth, that is Amrit PD. So what all things would you do? What are the challenges first of all facing the youth? Unemployment. Right? Unemployment, unemployability, unskilled. What is the difference between unemployability and unskilled? Huh. And unemployability would be what then? What same, na?
They might have or might not have the skill. I mean, skill is not necessarily the only reason for unemployability.
They have different skills.
What else is the reason?
If
They don't
someone
have
is,
that.
say, severely disabled, then in so many sectors,
Severely disabled, how? Let's take an example. I am severely disabled, she said blind. So I cannot be a pilot. So I cannot have a skill to fly if I am blind.
I'm talking about only in certain sectors.
So give an example.
If you want to, someone with limited mobility can't work in physical labor-intensive jobs, stuff like that.
So the skill required there, the person is not able to provide that skill because of the disability. Reason is the disability,
But his mobility is
because of which skill is getting hampered. Right? However, so you would say earlier the person was skilled, now the person does not have limbs or mobility, because of which, so when the hands are gone, the skill is also gone, or is it still there? It is basically similar thing. Why I have written unemployability is because this was a big factor wherein certain reports said that 70-80% of youth in certain fields are not employable. One major reason, not major reason, but one of the reason, if I would say, is from around, let's say 2010 around to 2016, these 5 years, there was huge increase in the number of engineering colleges. Did you guys notice this? Huge increase. So anyone and everyone getting admission in engineering colleges. So very high number of engineers coming out, right? Very high number of engineers coming out. Now, and also you would notice that these engineering colleges will not have civil engineering or mechanical engineering. Computer science, IT, electronics and telecommunication, that's it. Why? Because for these kind of branches, just have a building, have few computers, it's done, right? For civil engineering, mechanical engineering, even electrical engineering, you would need labs, you would need apparatus, instruments, equipment for all those things. So a more heavier investment is required. So because of which, now not necessarily if more people are becoming engineer, they would definitely be unemployable, but the problem is the quality goes down. The quality of people with respect to the mindset of engineering entering, at the same time the quality of by which education is provided, right? It's a very straightforward thing here. Now unskilled also is one thing. At the same time, there can be structural unemployment. What is structural unemployment? Skill is there, but you have X skill, the market requires Y skill. So a mismatch between the skill. So even a skilled person, you know, unemployment, sir, people are not having skill. No, people can still have skill, but the economy does not require that skill. And one big thing that happened with India was, India wanted to move from agriculture, then develop its industry, then probably service sector was anyhow at that time not thought of that much. But when we were in agriculture trying to move to industries, we would wanted to train this labor, use this labor, additional labor, disguise unemployment to transfer them to industry sectors. But suddenly what happens? Service sector boom happens. Now suddenly you cannot reskill them for services sector. It's a completely different thing altogether. So there can be a skill mismatch can be there, leading to structural unemployment. So unemployment, skill, all these things are big issues with the present UA. So that is why I write down very first thing, Skill India Mission. Skill India Mission. What is Skill India Mission? When it was launched almost a decade ago, what was the mission? How many people we wanted to skill? Huh? Acha, chalo chodo. Write down, till now we have skilled 1.4 crore youth have been trained. So 1.4 crore trained, 54 lakhs skilled or let's say reskilled. So total over almost 2 crore youth we have either trained or skilled and reskilled. One more thing that has been done is the formation of 3,000 ITIs. What do ITIs help in? What are ITIs? Sorry, so basically ITIs you can you can do vocational courses are there wherein they teach you plumbing, they can make you electrician, carpenter, all those skills are developed in ITIs, right? This is there. So at the very low level when we talk about to bring youth also out of poverty, to give them also some employment, this is the thing. Apart from this, higher education would also be important, right? So in higher education, the focus have been IIMs, IITs, AIMS. So write down, we have come up with 7 new IITs, 7 IITs, right? We have come up with how many AIMS? AIMS is what? All India Institute of Medical Sciences, 15 AIMS and 7 IIMs. Right? So this is at a higher level when you're talking about higher education and let's say white collar jobs, service sector, all those things, and of course related to medical is also a service sector, right? Service sector employment. There you are more talking about the industrial sector employment when you're talking about Skill India Mission. Skill India does not teach you as such coding to employ you in a service sector. It teaches you certain things which can be helpful to get you employment in the industrial sector, secondary sector, right? Anything for the quaternary or quinary sectors?
Startups and stuff. No.
Okay, okay. Quinary sector? Nothing as such, right? Decision making of the highest order, the people in the government, they are taking the decision. So there is no any scheme, training you to become a politician, for example. So fine. Anyhow, we are, addressing at agriculture, primary, secondary and tertiary is the focus.
Does bureaucracy come under quinary sector?
It will come. Cabinet secretary and all will come. So you can indirectly say that because even various state governments provide you certain facilities.
District, entrepreneurship cells, they will make the training for the companies like CEOs and everything.
Okay, that also indirectly can. But the major focus will be the first three. Now write down Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Now what is this for? Instead of having job seekers, you make them job givers, right? Okay, so write down Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, 43 crore loans have been given. 43 crore loans have been given. And then there is this scheme. Not Shri Prime Minister, Prime Minister Shri. Prime Minister Shri. It is PM Schools for Rising India. PM Schools for Rising India. So, you need to understand very closely how this is written. PM Schools this is not how you write schools. PM Schools, H will be capital. Okay? For Rising India. Now, what is the focus of this program? Till now, for a long time we were focused on having more enrollments, more participation, more attendance, more people going to school. To an extent we achieved that. So now here the focus is on quality of education. The focus is on quality of education. The focus is on quality of education. Clear? Now, when we look at women, we'll see certain things. Just for example, Mudra Yojana, it will sort of overlap. So certain things would start overlapping now. Now next write Annadata, that is farmers. We'll quickly do Annadata, then Nari Shakti, and then we'll look at the trends also. So now Annadata, that is the farmers. So legalize MSP. That's what Annadata wants, right? We should walk away from WTO, that's another thing. First requirement is legalizing MSP. But no, we will tell what you want actually. Anyhow, there are issues in legalizing MSP. That is probably not the right way forward. There can be certain modifications that can be done. What is the issue now in MSP? MSP is anyhow there in 23 food crops. In food crops, 23 food crops, there are still MSPs. So what is the problem? There are MSP meaning you have minimum support price, but is the government procuring at that price? No. They are just procuring wheat and rice. Why? Because Public Distribution System Food Security Act. That is why. Other 21 things, nothing doing. Right? Then what will happen? People will be inclined towards this. Other things they would not want to produce. Prices may go up and various other issues are there. So when the farmers are demanding legalizing MSP, they are talking about legalize the buy by the government. There needs to be a legal statutory backing based on which the government has to buy. Now we cannot completely do that, right? But in a modified form, we can have that, right? One argument is, right now with respect to this, what we talk about, food security. So in poverty, we have moved towards multidimensional poverty. In food security, we are still here. The next logical step would be nutritional security. Nutritional security. When nutritional security is addressed, then it would be micronutrients. Right? So we can move towards diversified foods. We can look for having, let's say, certain millets, pulses also in the Food Security Act. So when you add those things also, you would bring in some other things also which the government would then start procuring. Then you can have certain, not legal, even then if you don't keep legal, the government would still buy it, right? But then what is the problem? The problem right now is that the pulses are too costly. Rupees 200 per kg, for example. So initially it would be a cost on the exchequer. Why it is so costly? Because less of it is produced. At times we are required to import. If there is a nudge from the side of the government to produce more pulses and the production goes up, then probably the price would also come down. So initially the government would require more expenditure, and then later on that expenditure would come down, right? That is one thing which we can think of. But completely legalizing all or making statutory all the MSP and the procurement therein would completely be not possible, and that is what the government has also clearly said, that the second requirement was walk away from the WTO. Why? Because that itself is a hindrance because of the ember box subsidy. So India, you can give subsidy only up to 10% of the production value. Now we have such a huge Food Security Act that itself comes under exception, right? So further, like this MSP and all, if you give, if it comes under ember box subsidy, that would again be a hindrance for the government to implement that. So the farmers want us to be out of it. But again, right now, even if WTO, UN, it is majorly, USA has a very monopolistic kind of role, but still to an extent that body is, we are a part of. And there are a lot of repercussions. It's not just the agricultural sector, there are industrial sectors as well as service sector. In service sector, you know, we talk about Indians being allowed to move abroad and work, and to an extent when others are coming here, we are sort of having a hindrance for them, so that more of us can go out and work. So this is there, plus industries are there, plus various other things. It's not just the agriculture that is there. So that is again a difficult task. Okay. So what can be done or what is being done? Let's write down. PM Kisan Samman Yojana. Now where does this Yojana takes its inspiration? PM Kisan Samman Yojana. Now, under this Yojana, there is a direct benefit transfer. Direct benefit transfer to the farmers for farming. Direct benefit transfer to the farmers for farming is given. So, what's the inspiration for this scheme? This is a national level scheme by the central government. This has been inspired by a state level scheme. Yes. The name is Raitu Bandhu scheme. Based on the amount of agricultural land you have, you are given direct benefit transfer. Per acre of land, some 6,000 rupees or something is given yearly. Okay, so I think I was with a friend of mine and just received a text message of transfer of few lakh rupees, and the friend was not able to think who sent it, from where it came. Let me call my dad and check whether my dad has sent. Then dad also didn't send. Then my friend was like, oh, okay, now I realize it's for the Raitu Bandhu scheme. Yes, because hundreds of acres of land. There is this village in Telangana, literally the entire village, is owned by them. There is this, right? So when this comes, your account is linked. You have, let's say, different accounts linked. You have sisters, you have brothers, you have father, you have mother. So this cap, of course, it is not that one single person owning, but suddenly messages started coming and that amounted to lakhs of rupees. So I was not going into the details, but that is the detail of it, right? So I think 7-8 people in the family, and then this distribution and few lakh of rupees was transferred. Why? It's a DBT. No, actually there is no such provision. Where will you give? For LPG you have the facility to give up. For this, where will you give? Right? No, give back, he said. Give back, not to others. Okay. So this is coming from Raitu Bandhu scheme. Direct giving them the money, so that based on their need they can do what they want, where they want to use it. Okay. And it is a direct benefit transfer. PM Kisan Samman Yojana. Next, write down Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Before Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, there were other crop insurance schemes, right? Now, how is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana better than them? What are certain peculiar things about Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana? Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So in previous schemes, Fasal Bima Yojana, insurance for what? When the production of crop is not up to the limit. You have less crop production due to certain reasons. The reasons covered under previous schemes were very less. This scheme covers more provisions. Okay. If there is a hailstorm, it will cover that. If it is at times there is a directive given for culling of animals. Culling of animals, killing. People are allowed to kill them. So certain animals at times are under a certain schedule so that you can kill. So there are loss of production due to animals also. Right? So it's not just that rain was not there, that drought was there, that is why my produce failed, but also due to hailstorm, rain and all would have been proper. But as you are about to reap the benefits, there is a hailstorm. Now that was earlier not covered. Now it is, because earlier it was about rain. So how much it rained? Hailstorm is also converted into that. But hailstorm is specific, even if considering this the rain was proper, but still since there was a hailstorm at that time, you would still be given insurance. Also now things are geo-tagged over here. Since there is geo-tagging, geospatial satellite is being used for geotagging, so it is a very faster dissemination of money, because a person need not come and check. With the help of geosatellites, they can also check what amount of produce that would have been destroyed or was actually realized. Okay, so very faster claims are given over here. Okay, crop insurance to write down the number, around 4 crore farmers. 4 crore farmers. Next is your ENAM, Electronic National Agricultural Market, ENAM. What is the benefit of ENAM? Yes. Yes. So wherever you are getting the best price, you sell it. It helps both the seller as well as the buyer. They can also, basically making it, there is no monopoly over here. If there is only one mandi, you have to sell it at whatever price it is. You cannot sell it elsewhere. All those things are there. So when you integrate all the mandis, wherever you get the best price, you can sell it there. So again, it plays a role in doubling the farmer's income. Doubling the farmer's income. By the time the farmer's income is doubled, the inflation would have. So that is also another aspect, right? Also, in doubling farmer's income, it is very important which income are you talking about to be doubled. Yes. Okay, so ENAM helps in doubling farmer's income also. So it has integrated over 1,000 mandis, 1361 mandis integrated. Integration of mandis have taken place. Clear? So now let's move on to the next one, that is Nari Shakti, Mahilaye, women. N. Nari Shakti focus is on women. Now, what are the challenges women are facing? Huh? Sorry? Patriarchy. So, how do I allocate budget for that? So, you need to break it down. Because the simple answer would be inequality. The reason might be patriarchy. But the problem is, okay, so what problems are women facing? Huh? Sanitation problem, lack of
education in tribal society for the women.
tribal society for the women, not in non-tribal society.
Okay, but comparing to the tribal society, women are facing.
Okay, yes. Unequal payment. That's a completely different topic altogether. We'll discuss that something, but yes. Sorry? Nutrition. You tell me.
Maternity related things for them.
Maternity rate. Not heard about that. Are you talking about maternity mortality rate?
No, like that.
Then fertility rate is high.
Maternity policies. Policies like maternity leave.
So that has been recently increased in the Maternity Amendment Act. From 13 weeks now it is 26 weeks. So isn't it a good thing? Not necessarily. Right? Not necessarily. That is participation. Yes.
I was just saying that the 26 weeks might discourage employers from.
Exactly. That is why not necessarily a good thing. You are talking about increasing the maternity leave from 13 weeks to 26 weeks, but now since it is 26 weeks, it may discourage the employer to employ more females. So there won't be that much of female participation itself to enjoy the benefits of 26 weeks. So how do we address that? Go in the direction of certain Western countries, Scandinavian countries, talking about paternity leave as well. The moment you talk about paternity leave, the difference that would be there would be reduced, because now a male will also get a holiday. At the same time, when there are leaves, you would also make them realize that it's not one person's responsibility to raise the child. So it's not just leaves, not just economic related thing, but also a social thing over here. That boss, it is also your responsibility. And the moment that happens, when the responsibility is shared, then there can be even better productivity from the side of the females as well. Because now they are the sole person taking care of it. Work from home is prevalent now. So husband, wife working from home, child is there. Who will, sacrifice, who is more likely to sacrifice their work due to child? The female. As it stands, generally that is the case. There might be exceptions, but generally that is the case. Now the moment you have leaves here also, you also sort of tell them that boss, this is your responsibility as well. Right? Yes, you were saying something? Participation in police force. Okay. Let others also answer. Yes. Tell me. Okay. Yes. Huh?
There's a false ceiling for the women, sir. They don't exceed a certain limit in most of the things.
That is known as glass ceiling. Glass ceiling. There is a mindset which stops the females from going up to higher positions. There is a mindset which stops that, and that is the glass ceiling that is based on the gender. Right? That is why you will see in an organization, if you will go, in fact, I should not name and all that, but I know of an organization wherein majority of the employees are females. Majority of the employees are females. No, not that big. It was a startup. Now probably have gone above startup level. It's not very famous. I know it. So majority of the workforce are females, and when you talk about heads, zero. Operations head, male. Academic head, okay, it's here. Then you have tech head, a male. Marketing head, a male. Sales head, a male. And majority workforce is female. And majority, I'm not talking about 51%. When I'm talking about majority, I'm talking about more than 90%. Huh? It's an education firm, edtech firm. Into various competitive examination and various teaching, for example, English fluency, for example, IELTS, for example, UPSC, for example, GATE, for example, RBI, grade B, for example, SSC, state PCS. So, and the major thing is from English fluency and all that, wherein majority of the workforce is this. Yes, sorry, please discuss here. Let everyone else also know.
We were guessing the function.
No, you won't be able to guess it. It's what? So I told him that the turnover, annual turnover would be how much? At its peak, it went to around 60 crores per year. Around 5 crore per month. Okay? Anyhow, so this very clearly shows you what? The glass ceiling. How is this possible? Of course it was possible, but more than 90% here and zero heads over there. So that is what glass ceiling means. At lower level you may have equality, equal levels, but at the higher levels you will not find. Okay? So write down here, again, for Yuva there was Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. So here specifically for females also a lot of loans have been given. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Okay. Also the female enrollment in higher education. Now what happens is, initially in the primary education you would almost see the similar percentage of enrollment. The moment you keep going higher and higher, you may see more disparities, right? So primary levels to an extent, addressed to an extent as compared to high levels, but now focus on enrollment in higher education also. In the last around 10 years, we have had increase of 28%. The female enrollment in higher education has increased by 28%. That is a very good number. Okay. Then focus of female in STEM education. What is STEM education? And mathematics. Science, technology, engineering and mathematics. In India, the percentage right now is 43% for females. Rest 57 is males, 43% is females, which is a good number. Sorry? So now it is changing. That is why the disparities is getting reduced, right? So if you just say in the last 10 years, okay, or the last year, it would have been further higher, right? But people are still in STEM education. So presently 43%. But then if you would still talk about mechanical engineering, civil engineering, it would still be less. It would still be less, not zero, right? Why is that the case? Why is that the case lower in mechanical and civil engineering?
Glass ceiling that government can't do mechanical and civil.
But then the female is taking the decision na, whether to take enroll. Let's say, wait, my question. Just hear the question. If you randomly pick 10 females who are doing engineering, So they are doing engineering. So forget about they never got the opportunity and all. And 100 random males who are doing engineering. Let's take it from civil, mechanical, computer science, IT, electronics. Right? Let's take civil, mechanical, computer science, IT and electronics. Right? Now here probably you may see 20, not this exact, but just to have an understanding. Here you may see, let's say 2, 1, okay, percentage wise we are talking about, okay, 25, 30, how much is left? 55, 56, 57, 58, 42, just for example, right? Now these people took a choice. You are saying it's a mentality that women can't do it. But then woman has taken a decision. Then what is the problem? Glass ceiling is coming from whom? The society, right? Here the female is taking decision. Then why such decision is taken? Type of industry. So why? It is your own choice, na, to select. Fear of field work. So you are saying that they think themselves that they will not be able to do it. Then glass ceiling is not there then.
No, it's already male dominant, so
It might be safety.
See, the thing is, when you tell them that it is not for you, they also internalize that. So things become normalized. Right? So the glass ceiling and all those things are coming from the society. Now that society need not necessarily be only males. Even let's say you have a female head of the company, owner, may hire males only at the topmost position. So that may come from females also. So generally that mentality is coming from the society. When it comes from the society, your brain is wired to feel that, believe that, think that and not try that. Right? So we may think that they have made a choice on their own, but their choice was influenced by the already existing patriarchy in the society. Right? Alright, so write down next. STEM courses, okay, 43% females. This is very important. Next, write down 70% houses under PM Awas Yojana. So PM Awas Yojana, 70% houses under PM Awas Yojana in rural areas were given to women as a sole or a joint owner. So 70% of houses in rural areas were given to women as sole or joint owners. Clear? This is a very important point. It's a very good point also. When you are giving houses, majorly you are trying to give it either directly to the female as the owner or a joint owner. So that is a nice step. Right? Also we have now the concept of reservation of seats based on gender. Right? So 1/3 reservation of seats. 1/3 reservation of seats. Is this clear? Clear? Any doubts so far? Now let us look at, there are certain important focus, this was focus area. Now they have certain strategy for Amrit Kal. So what is Amrit Kal? So now we'll see. So what is this Amrit Kal? Not the meaning. What period in India is considered as Amrit Kal as per this budget? Gupta. That is also correct. The golden age, right? This is from our 75th to 100 years of independence from the Britishers. 75th to 100th year which is there. So this is a period of 25 years. This, guys, is the Amrit Kal and we are living in it. Right? So the nation is depending on you. What's your name? Huh? Thomas. So Thomas, you are one of the youth on whom the nation is depending. Right? And like you, of course, others as well. Right? Right. So if you do well, we would be able to realize our demographic dividend. Right? So each one of you, okay, demographic dividend. All right. So write down strategy for Amrit Kal. In this, so for Amrit Kal, we are focusing on certain things. For example, sustainable development, infrastructure and investment, inclusive development, agriculture, tourism. Write down. So write down first, sustainable development. Under Amrit Kal, the very first thing is sustainable development. Sometimes I feel that the Western world does not care much about it, but India is still doing a lot in it. Okay, so there is a concept in sustainable development of CBDR. CBDR, common but differentiated responsibilities. The responsibility is common for sustainable development, but it should be differentiated. You should provide more because you are rich. I would provide less because I am poor. I am, either least developed country, developing country, low per capita income. Also, I have not reaped the benefits of the technological advancement by polluting more. So, I have not even contributed more. And now probably it was my time to utilize that, but suddenly you are coming up with this concept. So, please allow me to still, contribute less, for example, and others who have already exploited it, already polluted, already led more carbon footprints should contribute more, right? So that is your common but differentiated responsibilities. So first is sustainable development. Under sustainable development, we have a target of net zero emission. Net zero emissions by, we don't know how many of us will still be there to witness net zero emission. We don't know, I said, yes. We may, but we don't know. By 2070. Net, who all think they will be here till 2070? Okay, fine, fine. Let's move ahead. Adoption, guys, adoption of e-buses. Adoption of e-buses, strengthening e-vehicle, especially the charging part also. So write down strengthening e-vehicle ecosystem. E-vehicle ecosystem. So all this would come under sustainable development. Adoption of e-buses for public transport, e-vehicle ecosystem. Now what is the issue with e-vehicle right now? Okay, let's say charging ports are there. Then what is the issue? Huh? Achha, you are going into the technicality of utilization by the consumer. But with respect to sustainable development. Exactly. So we are saying that e-vehicles will not pollute, right? There will be zero emission by e-vehicles. But the problem is you are charging them with electricity. Now more than 60% of electricity is thermal power plant, coal generated, with itself the pollution has already been done, right? So that is one thing. So you need to look at more renewable sources, less polluting sources of electricity, and then you can realize the proper potential of e-vehicle. Okay. And of course, consumer related thing is there's a range, and then you have to recharge. The problem is, as far as gas, petrol, diesel is concerned, you fill it immediately, it's done. There it takes time. So fine. Next, write down infrastructure and investment. Infrastructure and investment. Okay. So in infrastructure and investment, we are looking at either expansion or creation of new airports, basically. Either you are expanding the presently existing airport or creating a new airport, right? Then 3 railway corridors, especially railway corridors for freight transfer also. 3 railway corridor program. And investment. So for investment, promotion of foreign investment, especially with a focus on bilateral treaty. Having specific treaties with nations. Bilateral treaty. Okay? How would bilateral, if you want to choose one country with which you would want to have a bilateral treaty of trade, which one that would be? Huh? China. Which one that would be and why? Why? So what you understand by bilateral treaty you have doesn't mean they'll give you oil for free. When you have bilateral treaty, it's basically you try to make exports, imports, or the trade between these two countries more easy. So if we have, so how would we choose the best possible country is with whom we do not already have much of restrictions, but they may have restrictions for us. So if we have treaty, we could discuss and come to an agreement. If there is some country wherein we are putting a very high restriction already and they have very less restriction for us, why would I want to go and negotiate with them? Jaisa chal raha hai, chalne do. The way it is working, let it work. Right? That is one consideration. Secondly, that may not necessarily be the only thing. Second thing, someone of course said China. So if there is a country which probably has certain things which are essential imports for me, important imports for me, without which I can't do anything, then with that country also I may go, even though if it may hamper my trade balance. So all these factors are taken into account and then discussion happens, and this happens over a period of years and years. We are still negotiating with a lot of countries, but when it is bilateral, that is faster because there is only one country. We were also dealing with the European Union and we are facing problems because there are so many countries and we have to convince, right? So that is why more focus on bilateral treaties. But bilateral treaty you may not be able to have. For example, if you want to try to have a bilateral treaty with the European Union, that may be difficult because the European Union may have their own rules. So all those challenges we face, but of course we want to increase this with special focus on bilateral treaties. Next, write down inclusive development. What do we mean by inclusive development? Good, that's good. Inclusive development, the growth, the development should happen for all, including the last person standing or sitting in the queue, right? Because it's too late now. So it has to be there for everyone. Inclusive development. And those who are rich, they are anyhow already included, hence the focus is not them. The focus is on poor, the poorest of poor, below poverty line, slightly above poverty line, middle class, service class, right? So they would require more inclusion than someone who is already rich. Right? So write down the one program which comes under this is the aspirational district. Are you aware of the aspirational district? Huh? Aspirational district program. Now, how do you select a district under this program? What is the criteria for selection? Sanitation and stuff. Do you know what stuff means? You know, okay. So, aspirational district is, identified based on districts which have poor socio-economic development. Poor socio-economic development. Districts with poor socio-economic development will be chosen as aspirational districts. Why this? Why poor socio-economic development? Why can't we choose a better one and develop it further?
Because if you can develop this, you can develop anything.
Okay, that's the only reason. They are checking whether we can develop or not.
Yeah. If you can develop the last one, you can easily develop the better ones.
Ha, that is correct. But more importantly, the impact would be more here. The impact would be more. The intensity of poverty, socio-economic backwardness is more. So if I spend X amount, the impact it will give me in various socio-economic indicators will be more. Ha, exactly. Return on investment would be more. So poor socio-economic development, this district that are affected by poor socio-economic development. Then under inclusive development, you have the development of East. Development of East, including of course Northeast. What is the major issue with the development of Northeast? The terrain. The people are not the issue, yaar. Don't write that as your first point in an answer. That the tribes are the issue for development. So, what is the issue in gender equality? Women. What is the issue in poverty? Poor. Right? So, the geographical region, that is, the terrain, that is, the high mountains, the roads and all, it's difficult to construct roads in those areas. So that is a challenge to develop a road in some let's say low level areas, low lying areas with not mountainous terrain and all. It will be easier, it will be faster, more economical. There it will be risky, difficult, time consuming. At the same time, because of it, it kept on lagging. And since it kept on lagging, now if you develop, again the returns may not be that much. So again, that's a hindrance. Of course, with respect to tourism and all, it can further be boosted, right? So because of certain things, the development has been lagging. Also, there have been instances, what probably she was trying to point out was the fact that there has been instances of tribal conflicts, ethnic conflicts, Northeast insurgency. All those reasons are also there, which makes it further difficult. That is why focus on this, right? Development of the East. And then in inclusive growth also maternal and child health care. Write down specifically maternal and child health care. Maternal and child health care. Then write down extension of Ayushman Bharat scheme. Extension of Ayushman Bharat scheme. Plus very nice thing they are launching. I'll have to see if that benefits me or also or not. That scheme is housing for middle class to be launched. Housing for middle class. Huh? Then you are not middle class. Huh? So we'll transfer that house in someone else's name and then utilize the benefit. Don't do that, okay? Huh? No. I'm just saying if it benefits me or not, I'll have to see. Middle class, they're bringing it for middle class. So of course, probably the requirement for houses for middle class would be less, but you know, middle class have been the most taxed because they do not have a way around it. You are a salaried, middle class salaried employee, to be very specific, right? So something probably for the middle classes here, that is housing for them, okay? And fine, this is there. Now next write down agriculture and food processing. Next is agriculture and food processing. Agriculture and food processing. Now generally the government talks about both the things together, which is a very good thing, because agriculture produce when directly sold will give less income to the farmer. But if someone is utilizing that to process it further and you are selling it for getting processed, you can get higher amount, because that person would also add some amount of value and then sell it at a way higher amount, right? So what is the end happening with the agriculture produce is also important. If the rice is being sold, or even let's say for example mango is being sold, and that is through the middleman directly going to the consumer, right? So final price could be, let's say, 100 rupees per kg, right? So if final price is rupees 100 per kg, the middleman, let's say retailer would also be there. So retailer gets 10 rupees, the middleman gets, we are talking about revenue for example, middleman gets 70 rupees, is just 20 rupees probably left for the farmer, okay? And they might have utilized more in producing it. Instead of that, if you have food processing units, what will happen is the final product that comes out would be, let's say for example fruity, or example slice. Do they have real mango in it? So the percentage would be just 2, 3, 4%. Rest is just flavor. Okay, but let's talk about fruit juices and stuff, which would, you know, 1 kg would yield a greater amount of output when it comes to juices. So it may give, let's say, around 500 rupees of output. So when this 500 is there, 10% was going here. So 10% would be 50. 70% was going here. So 70% here would be 350. 20% was going here. So 20% would be 100. Now it will of course be possible they would try to have more of the share, but if we could regulate it properly, the farmer's share would if even if it remains the same, the amount of money they get can increase, right? Because ultimately their product is being processed and utilized for a higher payment. Okay, that's why agriculture and food processing. So write down promoting private and public investment. Promoting private and public investment in post-harvest activities. Promoting private and public investment, in post-harvest activities. This private and public investment since a long time now is going hand in hand, because the government wants to do more but has only limited money, so wants to include the private sector also, because the private sector now has money. Immediately after independence, the private sector was as good as non-existent. The amount of money they had was not much. That is why you would see a lot of interference, involvement, I would not use the term interference, but involvement of the state, ownership of the state, nationalization of things, right? And once the private sector also kept on developing, we have sort of liberalized it. and now we want private sector to invest. So public private partnership, this is a new type of model which is there for construction projects, right? Very good. Then one important thing specifically for prelims you can write application of nano DAP. What is the chemical formula for this? Chemical formula. I did not say chemical name. So let someone else answer. Yes. Okay, what is this? I asked you another question, na? So what is this nano DAP? What is this nano DAP? Nano is very smallest.
10 to the power minus 9.
This nano, milli, micro, whatever it is, it goes like this: 10 to the power minus 3, 10 to the power minus 6, 10 to the power minus 9, and then pico would be 10 to the power minus 12. So it increases or reduces in 3. This, then you have 10 to the power 3, 10 to the power 6. Okay? So can someone name all this from starting from 10 to the power minus 12? Pico, nano, micro, milli, centi, deci, deca, hecta, kilo, mega, giga. Okay. Now coming on to this, then you can go on further. Now coming on to nano, the thing is, it's not, one thing is there, it is in the form of liquid. It is in the form of liquid. Second, it has small particle size. Small particle size. Since the particle size is small, I think around 100 nanometers. So when the particle size is small, surface area will yes, who said? Wrong. It will increase. Okay. So why does it increase? So if this is, let's say, right, now this is a cuboid, for example. So what surface it has? This upper surface, there, this and this. In middle there is no surface, but the moment you cut it from between, there will be one surface this side and one surface that side also. So the moment you break it, more surface area is getting developed. So keep on breaking it, make it smaller and smaller, surface area will keep on increasing. So surface area is more, it is in the form of liquid. It helps in better application. Better application. The quantity required is less, hence the efficiency is more. These are linked things. Okay? Then next, write down. Next is tourism. Next is tourism. Under tourism, the government wants to come up with framework on rating centers. Framework on rating centers, iconic centers or tourist places. You rate them. So what will help if you start rating them? You will know what to do, where, what thing is required. Rating is based on certain things. So what intervention is required? And then the government can come up with the intervention. So write down the first point, framework on rating of centers. Framework on rating of centers. Second is encouraging states for development of iconic tourist places. Encouraging states for the development of iconic tourist places. Encouraging the states for development of iconic tourism places. How will you encourage? Subsidize their things, give them long-term loans at low rates or no interest rates. Right? Okay. Now let's come on to part B. In part B, we would look at certain trends which are there in the Indian economy. So specific data, if you don't remember, that's fine, but the trend you should know. Okay. Now, whenever you are projecting data, there is a very interesting thing you can do with the data. Now, I am not saying, when you see the various graphs that are being given in the budget, they are not having same time scale. Now, there can be different reasons for it. Some things would be checked for a shorter period, some for a longer period. For some, the data is available, for some, the data is not available. But one more thing you can do is, depending upon how the data is, in that manner you can present it also, right? So just for example, if you are having, you are checking a quality, so I used to be the quality manager, so when I am presenting the data, there is something called as non-conformity report, NCR, which I have to give, how many per month, okay? So if I see that it was 2, then I have to basically reduce it, that's my KRA. But it then went to 3 and let's say 4, right? Then here it's 4, 2, 1. This is my data. This is the first month, second month, third month, 4th month, 5th month, 6th month. Initially you cannot see my performance at all, right? So how do I present it? Q1, Q2. So Q1 it is 9, Q2 it is 7. Now you see, wow, this guy came and from Q1 to Q2 he has reduced non-conformity by over 20%. Correct? So I just wanted to give you a, this data, this is one aspect of it. This is just for awareness, this would not be asked as such. Now let us look at the data which is there. So first thing is declining unemployment rate. So the government has said that there is a declining unemployment rate. Certain graphs are very important. This is one of the important graphs because generally these graphs would not be either continuously increasing or decreasing, but this is one such which is actually the case. So from 2017-18 to 2022-23, 2017-18 to 2022-23. So it's a nice 5-year data that we have, right? If you draw the graph is nicely decreasing. I probably, the slope is too high, but there is of course a decrease which is there. This is the graph. I can give you the data also. 6.1, 5.8, 4.8, right? Then 4.2, 4.1, 4.2, 4.1, and then finally it is 3.2. 3.2. This was the COVID period that we did not reduce it much. Okay. 2019-20 and 2020-21. Hence not much of a difference. Okay. But as you can see, continuously it is decreasing. Very important to note this. Declining unemployment rate. So the unemployment rate has continuously decreased from 2019-20 to 22-23. Yes, it has. Okay. Write down next similar kind of thing we will take, that is rising volume of digitization. Of course, we all probably know that that would be the case. Rising volume of digitization.
During COVID, there was a lot of unemployment. How could it still reduce?
It's not the value, it is the volume. It is the volume. Volume, that is why again, one thing again you can use. So what is mentioned? Rising volume of digital transaction, not the value of digital transaction. Clear?
Unemployment during COVID.
Acha, unemployment you are talking about during COVID. Acha, that you are talking about. So unemployment during COVID, see, this is the data government has given us. right? I cannot challenge this, even though I would think, but I cannot challenge this. So if a prelims question comes, still mark it that yes, it has increased.
So is it because most of our economy is informal sector and that is not recognized as employment?
See, I'll tell you, there is one more thing. There was slight increase also in, let's say, EdTech companies had a boom, right? But then the problem is in service sector, anyhow, not much people are employed, so the increase would also not be that much, right? Apart from industries and all those things, industries would also come under organized sector. There were job losses and all, right? They were closed, so that could come down. What you are saying is also correct. It is also possible that a lot of unorganized sector, which is already not captured, so may not be a part of this. This is one thing. We would probably need to check one more thing. There is a concept of frictional unemployment, casual unemployment due to lockouts. So if I take, now that is a very temporary in nature. So if I consider that since this was for less than 1 year, so let me consider it as temporary, then my data may change. So we need to go into the depth of that to understand what they have considered that. Due to lockdown, the job losses that happened, is it considered that or not? So that we probably have to see. Okay? If I get any information on that, on calculations and the assumptions that are made, I'll let you know. Okay? Now coming on to rising volume of digitization. So it has consistently increased from 2018 to present. So 2017-18 to 2023-24. If you want the numbers that we are talking about is it is in crores. So 4,000 crore, 8,000, 12,000, so on. Okay, presently it is slightly below 16. Okay, above 12,000, below 16,000 crores. Clear? This is clear? Now the next one is capital expenditure. Again, there is a continuous increase in the capital expenditure, again, which is a good sign. Right. So if we look at the increase in capital expenditure, it has increased. This deviation which you are seeing, it's not a decrease, it is a growth at a slower rate, but it is still an increase only. Okay? So this is capital expenditure as percentage of GDP, and the cumulative also is having a similar graph. So the cumulative also has increased, and as a percentage of GDP also it has increased. Now, next is fall in headline inflation. Next is fall in headline inflation. Now, this is not, I would say, a continuous thing. It has fallen, but let us see how. Okay. Okay, 2014-15 to 2023-24 presently. Right? So this is the fall in headline inflation. It was 9.4 and now this is 5.5%. Okay, now if you would have, let me make it a bit better so that you understand. Don't worry, don't worry. Right? Now, if the government would have started from here, you would be like, inflation has increased. So that is why they took it back to the highest point, and then it is said to be reduced, and the heading is fall in headline inflation. Okay? So this is fall in headline inflation. What is headline inflation? Okay, so then what's the name? What is core inflation? Headline inflation you know na, right? What is headline inflation? Acha, core inflation? Yes. See, whenever generally we talk about inflation targeting, it's this based on the CPI index. It is the headline inflation we are talking, consisting of goods and services, right? So that's pretty clear. Now there is a concept of core inflation. So what is core inflation? It has nothing to do with the core industries. We say it is core, but what you and I may think is core is actually taken out. Remember it like that. So it's a core inflation, but you remove food and power, energy, petrol and all that, and the remaining is core. Clear? So it's a misnomer. The word is saying something, but probably it does not mean that. So that is core inflation. Now why do you remove them? Because they are highly fluctuating, as he said, volatile. Their prices increase, decrease at a higher frequency. So because of which you may not be able to assess the inflation properly. So you remove that, right? And now there is a new core inflation which the government has brought in. What is the new core inflation? They have removed the transportation and communication also from that, right? So whatever prices are changing, remove it. Instead of stabilizing it, remove it. No tension. The data has to be clean. Not to say that it is also required. So you should present both the data, but that is also required to understand, to take better decisions also. So that is your core inflation. Any doubts anyone has? No doubts? So write down a question then.
Is it already implemented?
New core inflation is there. Yes. It's there. So it is not that you will not come up with the these data also. This will also be there. That would be also in addition to these data. So to give a better policy making decisions, so that you know what is happening, where it is happening, how much it is happening, right? Write down a mains question. You can write the answers. You can get it checked from me if you want. If you take effort to write the answers to it. Right. The question is, the interim budget is a step in the right direction for a Vikasit Bharat. The interim budget is a step in the right direction. The interim budget is a step in the right direction for a Vikasit Bharat, full stop. For a Vikasit Bharat, full stop. Critically analyze. It's my favorite keyword. Critically analyze. Half the students will be done by this word. You will be out of the race for getting selected for personality test just by this keyword. That is why, whenever I give any class their first question, I keep it there. Okay? So write answers on this. You can get it checked. I'll check it. I'll give you feedback. Right? Any further questions, guys? No? That's it? Clear about budget? Right? So now if any questions are asked, you can answer. Yes, she wants to answer. So when you talk about inflation, just an increase in one single commodity is not inflation. For example, the prices of onions have gone up. That is not inflation. So when is, that would be a specific time skew inflation, but even that would not be the case. Because in skewflation, one or few commodities go up, others need to remain unchanged. That is a very specific thing. Yes. Now what is happening? The problem is when I am saying that the prices of onions have gone up. Guys, listen. When I am saying that the prices of onions have gone up, there will be various other things whose prices may have gone down, and the net impact would not be there. Because when we calculate inflation on a basket of goods and services. Basket of goods and services. So this basket has goods as well as services. In rural areas, I think it has 448 goods and services. In urban areas, it has 460 goods and services. So the price of this basket should not go up. If the price of this basket goes up for a sustained period, then inflation will be there. Clear? Now what happens is, these items contains goods and services. These items also contain food items and energy related item, let's say for example petrol, right? So food and energy items are included in that. So when you remove food and energy from this basket and then calculate inflation, that inflation would be your core inflation. Clear? Is this clear? So when food and energy are not included, then it is core inflation. If it is included, then it is headline inflation. Okay? Clear? Is this clear? Very good. What is bottleneck inflation? Structural inflation. Okay? Sure. Alright guys, thank you so much. Study well and all the best. Mention that.